Russian President Vladimir Putin says the Ukraine grain deal will not be restored until the West meets its obligations.
A new UN report concludes that invasive species are causing havoc to natural environments, costing nearly €400 million a year.
Talks between Russian and Turkish presidents to revive the Ukraine grain deal have ended without a breakthrough. The agreement, which Moscow scuppered in July, allowed Ukraine and Russia to export cereals without risk of their ships being attacked. But Vladimir Putin has long complained that the West was not honoring the terms. He said the accord can be revived if the West meets its obligations.
Как уже не раз говорил, нас просто вынудили принять это решение, я имею в виду Россию вынудили, так как западные страны блокировали и продолжают блокировать выполнение зерновой сделки в части обеспечения доступа российских сельхозпроизводителей на мировые рынки. То есть отказываются выводить из-под санкций экспорт нашего зерна и удобрений, возобновлять поставки в Россию агротехники и запчастей, снимать проблемы с логистикой и фрахтом судов, банковским обслуживанием и страхованием продовольственных поставок.
Putin said Russia is close to finalizing the supply of free grain to 6 African nations. But Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who helped broker the black deal, says it remained the only solution.
Gündeme getirilen alternatif öneriler, Karadeniz girişimi gibi sürdürülebilir, güvenli ve taraflar arası işbirliğine dayanan kalıcı bir model sunamamıştır.
Russia and Ukraine are among the world's biggest grain exporters, and the deal is essential for food security in many developing countries. Erdogan says Turkey and the UN have compiled a new package of proposals and that efforts will continue to persuade Moscow to accept them.
The European Union needs more money. Politically, this marks the beginning of a battle to increase the EU budget, a fight that has only just begun. First, for the new Ukraine facility, which is to support the country with €50 billion from 2024 to 27. The funds will be divided into grants and loans along the lines of the historic Marshall Plan. The European Parliament has approved the European Commission's proposal to revise the budget.
We will be in a position to support the government. They are setting up a Ukraine plan that is for the reconstruction and pre-accession. We will promote also private investment and ensure that, and continue our expertise for all those who are active in the reform program.
The Ukraine facility represents half of the almost €100 billion that the European Commission is asking for to reinforce the current 2021-27 budget. The other half would be for 6 topics: migration, a sovereign fund for the industrial plan, interest on the debt related to the pandemic recovery program, staff costs, and a contingency reserve. The Budget Committee wants an increase of another €10 billion. A combination of government contributions and new sources of revenue, such as taxes on global companies and on financial transactions, is planned. However, the Parliament is opposed to cuts in current programs.
Nós temos que proteger a política de coesão e o financiamento da coesão e da política agrícola comum. Ou seja, são políticas que fazem parte dos tratados da União Europeia, desde o início da Constituição da União Europeia, e são recursos fundamentais que em momento nenhum podem ser cortados.
This ambition is likely to meet resistance from the European Council, as several member states are unwilling to pay more into Brussels' coffers or incur new joint debt. However, analysts believe that the EU will have to adapt to a new global reality.
These 7-year budget cycles with very long negotiations, very protracted, complex things, it doesn't really work in a world where there are very immediate challenges and where there has to be much faster response. At the moment, the EU budget is also pretty small. It's only a maximum of 1% of EU GDP, and it's very likely that more fiscal needs are foreseen.
At the start of the European election campaign and against the backdrop of the inflation crisis, the budget increase is a test of the EU's solidarity and enlargement ambitions.
Iran has slowed the pace at which it is enriching uranium to nearly weapons-grade levels, according to a report by the United Nations nuclear watchdog seen by reporters. That could be a sign Tehran is trying to ease tensions after years of strain between it and the United States. News agencies said the International Atomic Energy Agency deplored in its confidential report the lack of cooperation from Iran. Tehran has long denied ever seeking nuclear weapons and continues to insist that its program is entirely for peaceful purposes.
Inflation and ever-increasing prices have driven the Czechs to shop abroad, especially to Poland, where prices in the shops are up to 30% cheaper, not only for groceries, but also for more expensive items such as clothing, electronics and even furniture.
No, jezdíme tady minimálně jednou týdně, protože tady ty výrobky buď jsou levnější, anebo jsou stejně drahé, ale pak jsou lepší.
Nakoupím plný košík a vypadá to jako oproti Česku, jako že ten košík by byl poloviční.
Although inflation has fallen from a high of almost 30% to 14.3%, the rate in the Czech Republic is still one of the highest among OECD countries. Traders have also increased their margins.
Nejenom, že tady byla hodně vysoká inflace, ale co Čechy asi taky hodně trápí, je, že tady ani zdaleka růst mezd nedosahoval takové výše, aby tu inflaci dokázal vyrovnat.
Bankers are also concerned about lost income for the Czech Republic's government. If retail sales fall, so do VAT revenues.
Dá se předpokládat, že budou-li ty útraty v Polsku pokračovat tímto tempem, tak český stát vlastně na platbách svých občanů v Polsku může za tento rok přijít zhruba o 3 miliardy korun na DPH.
The strong Czech crown is also helping to make purchases more convenient, which is why Czechs are increasingly buying foodstuffs and other goods in neighbouring countries, such as Germany, Austria and Slovakia.
Inflace v České republice nijak rychle neklesá, také ceny zůstávají nebo ještě trochu rostou. Proto tady v polském pohraničí budou mít stále dostatek českých zákazníků. Jiří Skáncel, Euronews, Chloupky, Polsko.
The Adamello, the largest glacier in the Italian Alps, is melting rapidly due to the climate crisis. During an annual journey across the Alps to see the effects of climate change on glaciers, scientists and activists said the large patch of ice could completely disappear within the next century.
Dalla fine dell'Ottocento ad oggi il ghiacciaio ha perso circa 2,7 km. Allo stato attuale sulla fronte negli ultimi 5 anni abbiamo delle perdite medie di 15 metri all'anno, che però il solo anno scorso ha visto una perdita di 139 metri in un anno.
Like other alpine glaciers, the Adamello is suffering from a lack of snowfall, up to less than 50% last year, and higher temperatures. But some say there is still hope.
Gli ghiacciai ci fanno toccare con mano il cambiamento climatico. C'è un aumento della sensibilizzazione, soprattutto nei giovani. Fa ben sperare. Il problema è che i tempi di questo cambiamento climatico sono molto veloci e forse non coincidono con i nostri tempi che sono un po' più lenti.
The glacier is located on the Adamello Prasanella mountain, which peaks at 3,554 meters.
It's not a meme, but a photograph that the German Chancellor posted on X days after suffering an accident while jogging. And the leader humorously anticipated the comments about his appearance. From the German government, they wanted to reassure those who were concerned about the Chancellor's health.
Also es geht ihm den Umständen entsprechend gut. Wir haben jetzt gerade vor wenigen Minuten ein Foto von ihm, damit sich alle daran gewöhnen können, wie er in den nächsten 1-2 Wochen aussieht, auch in den sozialen Medien gestellt. Er war heute Morgen ganz gut gelaunt, sieht aber noch etwas ramponiert aus, wird aber alle Termine, die geplant sind, wahrnehmen.
An hour after its publication, the post had more than 14,000 likes and 3,000 responses, mostly filled with photo edits. Kurdish-led forces have sent reinforcements to the Deir ez-Zor province in eastern Syria on Monday to try push back Arab fighters from a town where they are holed up. The violence in several towns and villages in the Kurdish-controlled areas of Deir ez-Zor has killed and injured dozens. Senior US officials visited the eastern province on Sunday in an attempt to defuse an uprising by Arab tribes against Kurdish-ruled areas. The Arab-majority Deir ez-Zor province is an oil-rich region which borders Iraq and is home to dozens of local tribe communities. Meanwhile, in the southern city of Sewida, demonstrators entered their third week of anti-government protests. The demonstrations were initially driven by surging inflation and the war-torn country's spiralling economy, but quickly shifted focus, with marches calling for the fall of President Bashar Assad's government. Syria's economy has plummeted due to the conflict, along with government corruption and Western-led sanctions. A disaster in slow motion. Around the world, invasive species are having an economic impact of more than 390 million euros per year. That's the conclusion of a UN study carried out over 4 years across the globe. From plants to mammals, marine animals and insects, these alien species are creating environmental chaos. Chief among the causes are climate change and human activity. The introduction by anglers of minnows to this mountain lake in France is a typical example.
Et donc ce verron, alors qu'il n'est pas là naturellement, évidemment, va modifier l'écosystème dans lequel il se trouve. Et dans cet écosystème, en fait, il va se mettre à manger tout ce qu'il a à disposition. Donc il va manger les amphibiens qui seraient là naturellement présents. Il va manger les invertébrés, donc les insectes, qui font partie de l'équilibre naturel du lac.
The consequences are also deadly at times. It's thought the recent wildfires in Hawaii that killed hundreds and devastated wide areas were accelerated by imported dry grass that had been planted to feed livestock.